Do you remember when we got you all fired up about donuts? No, not the donuts you eat, but the donuts you use on vinyl fence to make it super easy to install it without digging any holes. Well, guess what? Sometimes times change. This is the new donut. Now, I know you're thinking, this thing's not round. Guess what? Wendy's didn't care, neither do we, and we're doing it because it's better and you're getting more. We're gonna show you how to use this new square donut to build the best vinyl fence in your backyard that's possible. The guy that developed these has a saying. He says, you know, less stress, more finesse. This is all about that. Now, one of the things I want you to note right in the beginning, you remember how our other donuts were round and they kind of went in? Well, we had a point of contact right here, we had a point of contact right here, and we had a point of contact right here and one here. So we had 4 very small points of contact. Now with this, we have very good contact. It's called the Uni 5 because it's a 5-inch, but it's a universal, which means that it'll fit in this post like an 035, an 050, or even a 125 post. So super thick, heavy wall posts, this will still fit in it, because what happens is these collapse down just a little bit to allow you to get that in there and allow that nice tight fit in all the different wall thicknesses of 5-inch posts. So you can see here, this is the thinnest post we would use, and we've got a nice snug fit. There's no room for gap in there. There's no wiggle, and we have nice contact all the way around the post and all the way transferring even into the corners, which is where our strongest points is. One of the things we noticed is that high wind situations, what could potentially happen is you get a lot of flex right here. You can get the flex right where that point of contact is, because as it blows, it's trying to pull these apart. And so you get that flex just a little bit, and over time that can fatigue the material, and then you have crack out. And so to beat that, what we want to see is we want to see good contact all the way around, as much possibly contact, and especially trying to get it into these very, very strong corners where we're not having the only point of contact be the weakest part, which is furthest away from any support of these corners. This donut is to fix all those problems. The other thing that we fought a lot is, if you remember, when it would get really cold, we would try and shoot the nails into these and they could crack out. And so we would break donuts and we'd have to heat them up a little bit, make sure they were warm before we shot the nails in them. With these new galvanized donuts, there's nothing to break. We are not going to shatter these. They're not going to get brittle in the cold. We're putting it to a galvanized steel pipe. We're using galvanized steel, and it just gives us really good contact, really good strength. So that what we're trying to do is get you as close to just knowing that your fence is going to be perfectly fine in severe winds, and so that you can have peace of mind, because we've seen too many of these snap off. And now that we've done this for about 5 years, we've seen the failure points. What we're doing now is chasing the weakest link, and this felt like one of the weakest links. And we'll talk about a couple other things that we've made difference. But this is the new Uni 5, and we're even calling it the Donut Killer because, well, it's square. We're Wendy's. We're coming for you, McDonald's. Just saying. Okay, so because we already did a bunch of this, you can see that they're installed down here, but what I want to do is show you how we install these so that you have a good idea. Normally you're driving your pipe, and if you want to know a little bit more about how to drive pipe, check out this video over here. You can either drive it manually using a manual pounder, you can use mechanical means. A lot of rental companies have drivers that fit 2 3/8 round pipe, which is what this is. We're adapting a 5-inch post to a 2 3/8 round galvanized steel post, and this is SS40 was the trade name of it back in the day, but this is pretty thick stuff. You can see the thickness right here that we're trying to shoot through. I think it's about 10 gauge, if I'm not mistaken, but it's high strength, high tensile steel pipe. So that's what we're using for this, because we really don't want to risk any damage. If this is my end post, I would just set it up on my end post about like this. We've already got our post plumbed. The first process for installing all this is to make sure your posts are plumbed. They don't necessarily have to be in line, because as you can see, we have an inch of adjustment, or a ½ inch either way, if we need to shift these donuts, or the Uni 5, I should say, Donut Killer. So here's about the middle, but we've got about 1/4 to 1/2 inch, probably about 1/2 inch either way. So we've got that much adjustment. And then I can move it the other way. So if our post isn't perfectly plumb, we can make adjustments. We're gonna go ahead and set this up. We're gonna show you the fast way first, and then on the next post, we'll show you the hard way. What we're using are steel pins. Now you're probably thinking, this sounds crazy. I might've seen those used in the concrete world. But if you've ever been to a Home Depot and you look at their mini mesh that's on their Home Depot garden cages, you'll see fasteners like this shot into the steel. That is exactly what they're for, and they are very difficult to get out. We basically have to grind these off.
Slide that down real quick.
Oh yeah. As the professional pointed out, we do want to slide the first one down to the bottom, because if you put that one on, I would have absolutely shot myself in the foot, not with a nail gun, but with my own problems, for sure. So we'll do the top one here. And for this, we're using an Estwing, I guess this Estwing? This is the Estwing ESSCP concrete pin nailer right here. You should not be able to shoot it unless it's suppressed like that, so there is a safety. And then all we're gonna do is we are gonna take this over here, and we've got these holes lined up, and it makes it super easy. We'll give ourselves a little bit of, because this thing's, it's shooting through some 10-gauge steel. This is powerful. Bam, you see that? Now if I get really good and I put good pressure and I keep that there, we get a nice drive here. And I'm gonna show you something else that happens that we have to worry about if you go this route. So I'm gonna come over here, and I'm not gonna back into it. I'm just gonna pull a trigger. You see how it bounced all over the place? And then now we still see that deal there. And I'll do a redrive on that one. See, it's not quite as tight on a redrive. That thing's still in there, but if you can get it driven and keep it good and solid for each drive when you do that, you'll end up with a better product. Boom. See, look at that. Good shot, first time. We had good pressure. And you want to get these things all the way in there, because when you go to do the bottom rail, that can be an issue and it can be in the way. We need these things driven all the way in there so they get good bonding. Those things, you have to grind them off to get them out. They're incredibly hard to get out. So on this side, we're only putting one, and then this side, you'll see that there's not one right in the center, but we've got one here and one here, so they're kind of offset, and we're doing those two. Let's say we didn't have all these other ones done. This is our end post. We're gonna go ahead and tie this off. Cade, would you please demonstrate how this is
I would love
the easiest way to do this? Just tucking it off there. Yeah, so we don't really have a knot. We can just yank on it, it's all out. You just have to be a little careful. These things are sharp for sure. Now, you can see that we've already got all these lined up because we installed these previously. Now this one is not. We're gonna go ahead and work on this one. So that one was out. Now you can see none of these are touching. That's what we would want. So for this one, if we're gonna do the tops first, which is what we always do, is that typically your process? Yeah, so you're gonna do all your tops first, and then I'll show you how we do the bottoms nice and easy. This one though, we're gonna do the hard way, because I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, you know what, I don't really wanna buy this special gun just because I'm gonna do this in my backyard. But you know what, self-tapping screws also work. They can just be a little bit harder. Start nice and slow, get yourself a divot. Okay, got one in. When we're doing this, we're trying to keep our string just off of it. Like that would be the most perfect scenario. Doesn't always work, but the reason you want to keep it just off of that is because if every one just barely touches it, pretty soon you end up with the curve back to your original post when you get there. That's why we always encourage people to go just off their string line. The other thing with these, just be careful, you'll snap the heads off and stuff, and that gets really frustrating. So people learning how to do self-tapping screws struggle a lot, we notice. And then get the hex head ones. Don't get ones with Phillips drive, and then get a magnetic bit, because you want to be able to have that thing in there and then just be able to turn it anywhere, not have it fall out. We'll put a link to all the screws and everything that we're showing in the video down below. So these are just number 8. And then those are 1-inch pins in the S-wing. So, and that's it. So this is on there. We're doing 2 on this side, 1 on this side. This thing doesn't move. We have all the shear strength of those screws now. I mean, it would take a tremendous amount of wind to shear these screws off. It just doesn't happen. Everything's nice and tight. And that's how you can do it with just a simple impact at your own house if you don't want to do it with the air compressor. Should we show them how to do the next one? Because this one's all done. We don't need a string, right? We just take this down. Top one gets a string. The bottom one is done completely different. All right, demonstrate to us how you're gonna do that bottom one, son.
Take my level. I usually like to put them this way so you don't have to worry about your nails getting in the way
of your rail. So he's saying if he turns the bottom one, and I like that too, because let's imagine the wind's coming out of the north, which is this way, and it's blowing really hard on this way. Well, down here at the bottom, we have 2 other things working for us. This is actually gonna get kind of driven partially into the ground to really lock it so it can't move. But then the other thing is we're turning crossways, so that we're not actually, as this one's trying to push the top that way, it's not trying to kick the bottom out on this one that way. So we've got really good strength. Turning them crossways, if you have the ability to, because your posts are perfectly plumb and where they need to be, works really, really good. And then you have all this room for the rail right here so that your nails and stuff aren't sticking out. Just put it right in line with your fence.
Use the level to kind of make sure it's squared up.
Pretty dang good. Oh, so we need to go that way, so it's a good thing we have it oriented this way, because that's the place that's off. 3 nails, 2 on one side, 1 on the other. And then I'm gonna show you a different way to do the same thing so that you get it perfect every time, and you don't have to kind of do that 2-way level thing. Oh, it didn't sink.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to do the bottom ones.
Let me see. Can I do it? Let's see if I can do it. It's a lot of recoil, I'm just gonna say. Yeah, so if you put your foot up against it, it works pretty good. So we got just a teeny bit here. It's probably not gonna hurt anything, especially since our rail goes over here. But one of the things to think about is we had to slide this a lot this way. This is in line with the fence. We could easily just straighten this post up and then not use the leveling ability of this bottom donut to correct something that we could easily fix. We could just bend this post straight. The other reason I wouldn't necessarily do it that way, and I'd rather have this thing slid more evenly, is because now the edge of the vinyl post is going to be over here, and then we only have this much insertion right here, and we have to worry about that rail pulling out. So trying to keep it a little more centered. We could easily just got a post bender, straighten this post up, then not use that adjustment right there. And that's what I probably recommend to you if you run into that. This way is the way that we're correcting in line. We're correcting all of our donuts. This way we should be correcting using bending techniques and stuff like that. If you haven't seen how we straighten posts up after we drive them, if they get just a little bit off, check this video out over here where he competes against his uncles to build vinyl fence. In fact, this very vinyl fence. You can get a couple people even if you don't have special tools to do it. We make the tools just because it makes it easier. But if you and a couple people want to try and pull on these things and bend them, use a little bit of leverage, it can absolutely be done. You can get them straight. If they're crooked and that's the only way you can do it, when you drive them in there is that way, then do that. But one way needs to be it either needs to be in line or it needs to be plumb, but it can't be out of line and not plumb side to side. We need one of those things to be correct. If you can get one way, we can fix the other way with all the adjustment. So what I'm gonna do on this one, so now you can see these fall down in there really nice and easy. There we go, we'll just put that down there. So I'm gonna put this. So that's one of the other things people worry about is how do I make sure that everything's kind of in line and it's not twisted, like the top one's twisted from the bottom. If you do things like this, then you know that you're exactly lined up. You can look down your thing, but you know that all these donuts are lined up with each other. So if I use a post, then all I do is I take my level over here. That's a long level. It's good there. Now we're level. So all I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna pull this up. All three screws in, pop it back down on there, and if I didn't screw anything up, it's perfect. Now you can see what he's talking about because this is where that screw, if that nail was sitting out and it was sticking out an inch, we would have troubles getting that rail down. So if you can turn these the other way, that works really nicely because we do run into that with our rail here. It can make it a little bit difficult, but not too bad. But turning them this way gives us a really good center. So we have the same amount on this side as we do on this side for insertion. And I'll show you what that looks like if you do it the other way. You can see that we have insertion here, just not quite as much because the Uni 5 donut killer is all the way over there. So we've only got about an inch. We lost about a ½ inch of insertion on this side. We'll be fine. So we got all this stuff on. Now we'll grab a couple rails. The sliding mechanism is what gives us all our flexibility here. You can put it in there and bada bing, bada boom. We're not going to show you how to assemble the whole section because you can see that right over here. There's a couple other key things that I want to show you that we need to keep in mind. So when we're putting the U-channel on, we're going to basically follow our same principles. We're going to come down about 5 inches just to get a little flexibility here at the top. Center it up. Put that on. Put one towards the bottom about 5 inches up. So the most important thing is to get all your rails, get your flow corrected. Now you can do that by setting up all your string line and having all your posts marked to the same grade and having nice string lines set up that you set all your posts to. You can set them wild and then tap them on down to the ground with a block of wood and a hammer and get them into the ground a little bit more. You can pull them up, but after you get everything adjusted, what you want to do is lock them down. We're just going to use little screws like this, and then I'll show you a second way. There's an easy way to do it that's readily available, and then there's a way that we do it that has some benefits to it. So the first way is to just screw these self-tappers. We're just going to come right down here where your uni is, and then we're just going to add that self-tapper right there on both sides. Super easy. And now it would take a ton of shear strength to pull that up. Not to mention we're either driven into the ground a little bit or sitting on top of the ground, so we have a lot of vertical resistance. So that's one way of doing it. The way we do it is with rivets. So what we're doing is we're doing the same thing, only we're drilling 1/4 inch holes. And then we're using DeWalt rivet guns with 1/4 inch rivets. Now these are black rivets. I'm out of white ones over here at this particular place, but we will put a link down below to white rivets, black rivets. These are the same black rivets that we use in our custom gate fabrication. If you want a custom metal frame gate for your wood fence, aluminum fence, and these are aluminum, so we don't have to worry about them rusting. We could also use that same rivet here in the U-channel. But if you get a 1/4 inch bit and you get some 1/4 inch rivets, then you can do this. Oh, that's right. 1/4 inch bits are great, but you know what's better? The next size up from that would be just one index size up, just a smidge, a little bit, not a lot. Feels like we have to do this a lot. Then it goes right in. And then boom. The nice thing about these, they can't back off. They're super secure, they're super tight, super tamper resistant. There's a lot of benefits, but it does take a gun. Now, I was trying to be cute one day. Yeah, hand me that thing. I was trying to be cute one day and I saw this on TikTok and I'm like, man, I like TikTok. I've had some pretty good success on that. So I got this and it said it does 1/4 inch rivets. But guess what? This is some sort of metric size and it does not fit. The thing inside here does not fit. This thing, if you see it on TikTok, Amazon, whatever, DIY Tool Lives, anybody that still spells with Z's, just no. Super cheap, super ineffective. Just no. They make hand rivet guns also that you can get for 1/4 inch rivets. You could put all these in by hand if you wanted to. Put a link down below so you can get the rivets if that's the way you want to go. Or you can just use self-tappers. You could use stainless steel self-tappers. There's a lot of options. Do whatever makes your heart happy and whatever causes you the least amount of grief and friction. So we've got our rivets here. We're gonna show you something else. What I like to do and what our team has been taught to do is instead of doing the middle screw here, we like to do a rivet or a self-tapping screw right into that uni donut killer as well. Now, there's a couple ways to do that. You can do what I've done here and I just, randomly, nope, that's not it. Nope, it's not there either. Ooh, something there. Looks like maybe we found it. Yeah, it's right about there. So you can either do that and put some weep holes in your post, good airflow, whatever. Or if you don't want to take all the time to put the airflow holes in there, we've done that for you from the factory. There's one here and one here. You can use a magnet and just put the one hole in for your rivet or your screw. Because these things are steel, a magnet will stick to them and then you can easily, quickly locate where they're at. Magnet, boom, done. We had a magnet. We're searching for a magnet. It's here somewhere. We can't see it. It's gone. So we found it. We'll go ahead and drill this. We'll put a thing in there. Because you know what? This is just testing. Ooh, that was a good one right there. The cool thing about this DeWalt one too is that it catches all the pins when they fall off. It has a little cup back here. You can just dump them all the way back in there. It's kind of neat. And the cool thing is about these, when you put them down at the bottom where the donuts are, you don't see them. And that's another reason we suggest you put your donuts below the bottom rail hole, not above, is so that when you attach everything, it's all hidden and just looks a little bit tidier. We recommend that. Ooh, I got a little saucy there. You see what I did there? I wrinkled it. I wrinkled it because I sucked it in too hard. That picket will pull that out and then you won't see it. Cade's gonna demonstrate one of the ways that we can lock these rails in. The old way used to be putting notches in here, but sometimes those notches can go too deep and honestly, they don't hold that well. So what I'm gonna have Cade do is normally what we do is we do this before we do the U-channel. But he's gonna add a screw in here that just locks that in and then this rail can't pull out that way and we'll do the same on the other end. Okay, I'm just gonna bend that out of the way so you can see. We did it in bad order, but yeah, the U-channel, you gotta do this before the U-channel's on for sure. Kind of angle it in there and the wood screws work the best because you need that point to really get in there. Yeah, the whole point is that when this thing flexes because of the wind, we do not want it coming out. We want things, whoop, see? It took a lot, but it's just another lock to lock that in there. You can put one on both sides. It's just about chasing weakest links really. Now, to keep all this together, because we're chasing the weakest link, one of the other things we want to do is we want rail ties. You know about rail ties, but the thing is that the donuts came from the same manufacturer as the rail ties that we're getting. So we had to say, you know what can we do to make rail ties just in-house and see what we can do to lower the cost? So we come up with these. So we used to have something like this called a rail lock. Now this is a manufactured piece. It's really tidy. And it costs a couple bucks. But what we have is whenever we cut all these holes, whenever we cut these holes out, we have all these scraps. They're really good, really thick vinyl. And we thought, you know what? We could probably just repurpose some of our old scraps and cut these out. So that's what we're doing now. Works the same way, goes across your rails. Let's pretend that this is a cut here because the rails are joined here in the middle of the post. Put this on there, put one of these great big screws down through the arcade. That ties that rail on the left half. And we're using 3 inches because we want to get down into these ribs. These are the ribs. I want to go into all the way through that into that rib right there. That just gives us a lot of strength. Yep. And then we're going to get all the way into here. You could probably even go with a 2-inch screw if you wanted to. It just makes them super easy to put in. All right, so we got that one in there. Then we put another one in this side. And now these two rails are tied together even though there's a cut right there and they're joined. That's the same thing this was doing, just an easier way to recycle material so that we're putting less trash into the environment and getting you something at a lower cost that does the same exact thing. And so if you have been looking for these, this is now the replacement. And that's how you build fence without digging holes, without stressing out, and they can stand up to the wind that you may have in your area, because I've talked to people all over the country and it doesn't seem like anybody's immune from it, whether it's microburst or thunderstorms or whatever else that come running through. We all get winds that hit that 60, 70 mile an hour, and we're just trying to make sure that it's not falling down and that stuff. Now, I'm not gonna say that all this stuff will keep you safe from a hurricane. Hurricanes like acts of God, man, that stuff just, we can't compete. What we do wanna do is make sure that you make it through all the light stuff that you should be making it through, because I've seen far too many fences fail at 30 mile an hour, and that just is not good. Listen here, there's so much more to all this iDrive power system stuff. It is the way our industry is moving and is becoming much more widely adopted. So expect to see a lot of changes, expect to see new developments, and expect to see better and better products as we move along this. But the end result should mean that you're getting a better fence, or you're providing a better fence to your customers with less stress. And really that's what it's all about. This job is not an easy job, and we're trying to make it easier for you to do yourself, or if you're an installer, trying to make it easier on yourself so you can go out there and be more profitable. As always, I'm Mark with SWI here in Wyoming, Wyoming's fence company, hopefully soon to be the nation's fence company. And this is Cade.
Yeah, you just said my
Okay.
line, dude. And I'm Cade, and you have a good dang day.
There you go.